Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our mindfulness at lunch session. How's everyone doing this afternoon? My name is Eric. I'm the mindfulness psychologist here at Brown Center, and I'm glad to be here guiding you in this session very shortly. So, how's everyone doing in the past few days? All right. Hopefully, it's all good. Now that I think since Monday we are able to dine out, at least in pairs. So hope that has been a good change, perhaps for some of us. Yeah. So let's get started with this period of the mindful stretching, and then after that I'll guide you in a seated meditation practice. Okay. Good. Right, so just allowing yourself to have both your feet to be flat on the ground, keeping your back upright. And just taking this moment to invite the eyes to close very gently. Just beginning by taking in that 3 beautiful deep breaths. Just sensing into what this moment feels like for you. Perhaps even celebrating this moment of taking a pause from perhaps your work or the things that you were engaging in prior to this. Just attending to this body right now. Sensing to the feet resting on the ground, the bum on the chair. Just the way the shoulders are perhaps at ease or relaxed. And beginning to bring the chin all the way down to the front of the chest. Just feeling that stretch down the back of the neck. And gradually, as you bring the head back up, allow your eyes to gently open. And just tilting the head towards the back, just very slightly as you kind of look towards the ceiling. Noticing the stretch at the front of the throat, the neck region. And from here, just coming back to center. And bring the head looking towards the left. And coming back to center. And now looking over to the right, sensing into this upper region of the body. And gradually easing into rotating the head 3 rounds in a clockwise direction. Just doing it very gently and slowly. Observing, at particular angles that we rotate the neck and the head. Does it feel more tense or is it that's more at ease? And we're done with 3 rounds, you can change the direction of rotation. And just coming back to center. And from here, just beginning to allow ourselves to bring our right hand all the way up. So stretching the right hand as high as far as you can, direction towards the ceiling. And this time around, dropping this right hand towards the back of the left shoulder. And using the left hand to bring the right elbow slightly down. So we feel into that stretch down at the right arm. Just sensing into this part of the body. So one of the best ways to just cultivate awareness in the present moment is to bring this awareness into the body itself. Even in movement. Observing the sensations that arise, perhaps at the upper arms or even at the tips of the fingers. Sometimes you might even notice tingling sensation or numbing sensations that arise. And gradually releasing, stretching out the right hand up, and now letting the left hand reach all the way up towards the ceiling, dropping the left hand to rest almost at the right side of the shoulder, and using the right hand to press the left elbow slightly down. So feeling that stretch as best as you can. And from here, allowing your left hand to release, stretching out both hands as well. And just letting both the hands glide all the way down, back, along the side of the body. And from here, I'd like us to just roll our shoulders towards the front. As you breathe in, bring all the way towards the ears, all the way to the back and down. And doing it as gently, as slowly as you can. Doing 2 more rounds. Rolling the shoulders towards the ears, towards the back and down. And 1 more time. Towards the front, the ears, the back and down. And now I'm going to change that direction. So gently bring it, pulling the shoulders towards the back. Feel the stretch of the front of the chest. Roll it towards the ears, the front and down. You just observe, whether the left and the right shoulder, does it feel the same as you do this, or is it different? All right, and when you're done with that 3 rounds, just coming back to center, just pausing for a moment and just checking in with how this body is like. Good. And now from here, I'd like us to just extend our left hand in front of us, stretching the left hand in front and bring it towards the right side and just pressing onto using the right palm. You just push this left arm closer towards the chest so you're feeling the stretch down the side. Good. And now releasing and changing side. So bring the right hand across, using the left hand to press this closer in towards the chest. Very good. So now dropping both the arms, relaxing them, coming back to center. And the last part of this stretching, I'd like us to once again lift both our hands in direction towards the ceiling and stretch as high as you can towards the ceiling. Feeling that stretch, and if you like to, you can use the left hand to hold on to the right wrist and bending towards the left. Noticing the stretch down the side. And now changing side, using the right hand to hold on to the left wrist and bending over to the right. Good. So just coming back to center, letting the arms drop back to about shoulder height level and just rotate at the wrist as best as you can. So you can just stretch out the arms, rotating at the wrist, and then changing the direction. Good. So just gradually letting it come back down and just placing your hands perhaps on the surface of your lap, establishing a posture now that supports us in this period of mindfulness practice, and inviting the eyes to close. And coming into this present moment by intentionally taking in that 3 beautiful deep breaths. And extending this awareness to just observing overall how this body feels right now. Having taken about 10 minutes to just engage in the upper body in terms of the movement and the stretches that we did. Just sitting with all that is here. And that includes awareness of even the sounds that you might hear right now. So for this moment, I'd like us to be very curious and just investigate the sounds that you're hearing right now. Sounds that you might hear from afar, perhaps outside of the room or the space they are in. Just simply letting the sounds arrive, accepting the sounds as they are already here. Observing if sometimes we might just very habitually put a certain judgment towards sounds that we hear, especially sounds that we don't like. You might notice some certain resistance arising, and we might just judge the sound as a noise because that's something that we don't want. So especially if you're working from home and if you really like a very quiet environment, and maybe that's not the case for you in the moment. See if you're able to just even observe sometimes the resistance that the mind puts up. The way that we might just judge our environment or even the people that might produce the sound. What if we can just choose to accept that these sounds are just sounds? Sounds that come and go. Certain sounds that stay on and linger on slightly longer. Some sounds perhaps becoming very much less noticeable as they just rest in the background of awareness. So right now, just letting go of the attention on sounds and beginning to just bring it closer into the body. Choosing perhaps the breath as a way to observe this present moment. Letting each breath arrive naturally on its own. Not getting in the way of this rhythmic process of breathing. All we are practicing here is just being with the breath. Simply welcoming the full sensations and the full duration of this in-breath as it arrives. Breathing in and breathing out. And sometimes you find that it may be a bit challenging to just stay with the breath, or you may even wish to just count the breath. So breathing in, breathing out, and that's 1. Breathing in and breathing out, that's 2. So you may use this to stay with the breath if that helps you. Just observing that gentle arising of each breath that arrives. And bring that sense of gratitude even into how this breath nourishes the whole body. So here we are, simply letting the breath do its job. Letting go of all the mind chatter, or the thinking and the planning. But if you do notice, if the attention moves towards all this thinking, that's really normal. Learning to embrace that this has happened, that the mind might just default into its mode of thinking and doing things, perhaps. Just returning to the next breath that comes along very readily. A new beginning. A fresh new moment. And as we just attend to the breath just the way it is, it's really helpful to notice how the mind sometimes might just resist to stay with the breath. And so in today's practice, we are just practicing that awareness of noticing when resistance shows up, whether in the form of a thought or certain action that we might want to take, or certain impulse that we might sense, when something that we don't want arises in a moment. So this could be in a form of an itch in the body, if you notice how the body might just resist that by wanting to fix it or getting rid of that itch, if that's the case for you. So just staying with the breath for the next few moments and observe if any form of resistance shows up for you. And as soon as you're aware of a certain resistance that just naturally arises, choosing to be kind to yourself, So instead of judging your experience as, hey, I shouldn't have done that, how about being kind to yourself by saying that that's all right. I may not like this, but I can stay with this moment just the way it is. And that's okay. So bring this sense of kindness and compassion to ourselves right in this moment as we are breathing in and out. Good. So now we're going to just expand this awareness to include the sense of the whole body once again. So gently you're just observing the feet, the heel, the ankles region. Just being aware of the calves and the shin, the knees and both the thighs. Sensing to the bum, the sit bones area. Up into the back region. All the way up the back. Right up into the shoulders. Down the arms and hands. Noticing the abdominal region. The chest. The neck. And the face. So bring this expanded awareness to this sense of the whole body and the breath. You're resting with 3 more comfortable and beautiful breath. And when you feel ready, just gently wiggling your toes a little, moving your fingers and inviting the eyes to open with a nice warm smile on your face as you come back into this present moment of being here with all of us. Just reflecting on this experience that we had. How's the practice for you? And what do you discover, in this practice in itself? So I'd like to just spend the next few moments to hear your comments, your feedback from the practice. How is it for all of you? In particular, if you were able to notice, right, if there's any resistance that showed up in the practice, right? And that's something I'd like to speak on today, which is, working with resistance, or at least being aware of resistance when it shows up, right? Whether is it in terms of the body, or whether is it in terms of some of the thoughts that we might find ourselves thinking about. Yeah. Good. Yeah. So some of you mentioned that you are thankful, yeah, for the body. Yeah. Right. And even noticing that how sometimes when the mind begins to take a walk along, towards our workspace, the body naturally might begins to tense up. Yeah, right. So it's really helpful, when we can actually notice when certain thoughts, whether is it about work, when it pops up in our mind, the body reacts or responds in a certain way. And oftentimes, is often in terms of more tension, right? So this is really helpful, isn't it? When we begin to intentionally and deliberately make time and space for ourselves, right? To let the mind gradually on its own settle down. So as long as we don't get in the way of the mind, as long as we don't get in the way of how the body naturally is, right? The body, the mind naturally take care of itself, right? When we begin to be kind and compassionate to both our mind and body, right? So this practice of noticing with awareness, and also noticing when those moments that resistance shows up, and when you don't want certain things to happen, when you don't want a certain sensation to pop up in a moment, this body naturally reacts to that resistance, right? They all begin to observe that, right? So this is really interesting, when we are able to bring that attitude of curiosity to just investigate what might we be doing to ourselves, right? When something doesn't go according to plan, when something that we don't like happens, right? How do we kind of react to that? And oftentimes, the way that we react is how we resist towards what we don't like, right? So I invite all of us to explore how does resistance show up for you, right? And when you're aware of it, that's when we can choose to be kind to ourselves, right? By just taking a moment to pause, by just doing certain stretches, if that helps release certain tension, or whether it's in the body or in the head itself. Okay, good. Yeah. So you notice that some of you mentioned that it helps you, right? To stay calm. So I hope that's good for you. Beautiful. Good. So in the last minute of this session, any questions that y'all may have, I can just put it in the Q&A or in the chat box itself. Otherwise, as I mentioned, do take for the rest of today to just pay notice, right? When resistance shows up for you, right? So instead of being very judgmental towards it, sometimes we might do that. What if we can, bring that curious exploration towards investigating how resistance feels like, right? And perhaps as simple as just noticing is enough to help us to let the resistance fade away. Okay, good. All right. So thank you everyone for tuning in to today's session. I hope it has been helpful to all of you. And I hope to see you probably one last time next week for English session on Wednesday. Till then, take care and stay safe. Bye everyone.